Hello everybody. Like normally I don't remember what vlog this is. 15 maybe? 16? Don't know. I have a list, again, that I probably won't follow. But one of the things that I've been asked a lot recently is people have taken notice that I've mentioned ADD, probably in a vlog, I think, maybe more than once. And excuse my neighbors upstairs, or wife and kids, I mean, if you can hear the thumping. But there's your ADD. But a couple people have asked me how I manage to do things with ADD. Now, I got diagnosed with ADD when I was a kid, and that was during the kind of 90s, 2000 area where every kid had ADD. So I don't really know, or I didn't really know if that was a real diagnosis. I mean, if you played video games, or preferred to play video games, or play on your computer or whatever, rather than do homework, then you were considered ADD. That's what it seemed anyways. Those of you who are my age would probably agree. But so I thought I'd talk about that. As I got a little bit older, or well, when I was a kid I took Ritalin, but I took Ritalin for probably a couple of weeks, and I like to say that I flipped out, but I didn't necessarily flip out. I mean, I did, but I think I staged half of it. I mean, it's hard to remember back that far, but or what I was feeling at the time, but I think I kind of staged half of it. I didn't want to take medicine to make me normal. Hold on a second. Okay. I think I took care of that problem. They're still thumping around a little bit, but I got the kids quiet down a little bit. Anyway. So wherever I was at, staging a freak out. Basically, I didn't want to take those pills anymore. But that was me being a kid. Once I started owning my own business, though, 10, 15, whatever, how many years later, I started realizing that it was hard to pay attention. Not necessarily hard to pay attention as much as hard to stay on task with things, hard to organize. I mean, anybody I would talk to about it or who would notice that I wasn't staying very organized, whether it be family or even the people that worked with me or for me, would always be, write it down, write it down like a task list, whatever, or get a journal, or not a journal, but get a planner or something like that. And I can write things down all day long. I can even write it on my hand, and it doesn't help me put it all together and actually do it. So I started thinking maybe I really do have what they call ADD. I don't have the hyper version of it. That's probably pretty obvious, since a lot of my comments on my videos are that I put people to sleep. Even my own mother said that. So anyway, it was a combination of that and anxiety and or panic. Those two terms can be misused and rearranged. But it was that. It was problems with attention and anxiety, either from that or from other things. I'm definitely somebody with social anxiety, which is probably why I strayed away from doing these kind of things that we're doing right now for a long time. Much easier for me to be behind the screen, just the voice behind the screen, than being the guy on the camera. So anyway, when I started noticing that I was screwing some things up, and when you own your own business and are managing people, which at one point I think I had nine people working for me. Never say under me; they worked with me. Those are, I may have been the owner and the art director, the lead developer. I wore many hats at my business, but everybody that worked there with me, they worked with me, not for me. And but anyway, so I started looking into this ADD thing again, and I went to the doctor and found out it was pretty easy to just say that I was diagnosed with ADD when I was a kid, and ask for Ritalin. So that was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. So they gave me that, and so I've been taking that as needed for probably 2 or 3 years now. I really actually didn't start until after I kind of folded my business. My business still exists, but I used to have an office. I used to have, an office, not just an office like singular, but I had an office space. I had offices. It was fun. It was cool. But I closed that down because I'm not as good at managing a business as I am managing a team, managing a project. I could I could care less about money outside of the fact that it's needed. So you could see how that could be a problem. So closed those doors and started working for myself again, along with one of my interns stuck around. She helped me a lot over that next several months, maybe even a year. I don't know how long it went, but we started doing things, a lot of video work. We started shooting mixed martial arts stuff, which I had never really cared for. Didn't dislike it, just never really cared for watching sports in general. But I'll tell you what, when you're asked to film it, it changes things. Being up, not necessarily in the cage, but being on the cage, around the cage, and zooming in close on what was going on in there, that was pretty fun. And sorry, I'm derailing, but I'm kind of trying to get to a point where I started. I stopped doing those things and I started working more in web development again, and kind of parted ways with the intern. Not in a negative way by any means. She moved, and I didn't have as much work. And she was a paid intern, by the way. She ended up being my assistant, is what I call her, because she wasn't really an intern by that time anymore. She was doing everything that I needed that I couldn't do. She was there to do, so that was very cool. But anyway, I started doing the web development. Then I ended up taking a salary job for a company out of Lake Tahoe. And that's when I really started to notice that what I was thinking while I was at my office and had my business, that was probably time to take a look at it. So I kind of screwed my timeline up there for you guys. So it has only been a couple of years, but I have been taking it, and I noticed a difference. I noticed a change. Obviously, anytime you take something that's supposed to change you, you're going to notice something. But quite honestly, it wasn't until recently when I couldn't get my prescription due to insurance and money and blah blah blah, all that stuff. For a moment, it was just because of legal things. You can only get Ritalin itself. I believe you can only get 3 months worth before seeing the doctor and having the doctor assess the situation and continue, because it's a narcotic. So at that moment where I needed to refill my prescription, we were having insurance issues with my wife's work, and we couldn't afford to schedule a meet with the actual doctor. So for whatever reason, I'm not trying to. Sounds like we were like destitute. We weren't. It was just a bad timing. So there was a 2-3 week period where I didn't have it, and that's when I noticed a huge difference. I noticed how much it was changing things. Motivation in general changed. Just getting up, I would say in the morning, but I don't really get up at any given time. It could be the morning, it could be the evening, it could be middle of the day. It just depends on what I did and how I worked the night before or the day before. But that whole time frame, when you wake up, just getting your thoughts together, getting the motivation, and the drive to get up and do what you do. When you're self-employed, that's hard to do normally. You throw in being ADD and having anxiety issues. It can be hard to manage. It's not necessarily. It's weird because I think a lot of people with ADD or anxiety and things like that tend to stray towards self-employment because they don't want to be around other people. They don't want to have a boss. All that stuff sucks to them, to me. So I've stayed in the self-employed area for at least half a decade now, which my parents are too. They've been self-employed for at least 20 years. So I noticed that when I got the Ritalin back, I tried an experiment, and that was, I woke up one morning, and instead of rolling back over and saying screw it, I'll wake up later, I thought, why don't I run downstairs, grab my Ritalin, take my dose, and then go back upstairs. My wife was already up. She was playing on her phone or computer or whatever in bed. And I went to go see if I'd actually lay down and go back to sleep or not. And as I thought might happen, 5-10 minutes later, probably a little bit. I think it takes a little bit longer to kick in. But either way, I never went back to sleep. I got the motivation to come straight down here and start working. I didn't dilly-dally around. I didn't mess around upstairs. I don't even think I made myself breakfast, which isn't good. But you get the point. It did change something. Now, it's not necessarily, Ritalin is not necessarily good for anxiety. It can sometimes work against that that particular issue, anxiety and panic. For those of you who don't have that, it's hard to understand. I used to make fun of this kid, or a friend of mine, who would have massive panic attacks. And I just totally, that's all in your head. You're just trying to get attention, and I just thought it was over the top. And then I started realizing that I had the same issue, and it's not fun, and it's not fake. Some people do abuse it, I think, but true anxiety and panic disorder comes out of nowhere. It's not necessarily nervousness. Some people I've talked to, and even myself, before I knew about it, I would always consider it. Everybody gets nervous. If you're freaking out about something, it's just because you're nervous, and you just need to calm down. There's a difference between panic and anxiety, or those two I lump together, and nervousness. So it's just it can be brought on by nervousness, but sometimes it comes out of nowhere, or at least not from a source you can think of. Maybe it's subconscious, something bothering you, and then you start noticing it, and it gets worse and worse. And someone like me, I've hid it. Never let anybody see that part. I'd go somewhere else, or try and hold it in, and just kind of freak out internally, sweat a lot, that stuff. But anyway, so those two things I have, and a lot of people have those together. And what I noticed when I didn't have the Ritalin, the panic and anxiety shot up through the roof, probably because I was realizing I wasn't able to get things done I needed to get done. I needed to finish certain things, and had a bunch of responsibilities to do that particular couple of weeks, and it was a mess in my head. So, long story short, that's already long. That's what I take. I'm going to turn the other camera here with my fisheye lens. That is, taped to my camera. And we'll switch to that now. So there, that's a day or so. You get your Klonopin for anxiety as needed. 2 of them Ritalins, and that's for pain. That's something I don't know if I've ever mentioned, but I've got a chronic pain issue from an injury as a kid. One thing I tell my children over and over and over is be very careful, have fun, do silly things, do stupid things, but always be careful, because one silly thing could make you hurt later on, and it's not fun. You definitely don't want to rely on pills and stuff, especially for that issue. But being self-employed, and or quitting your job to teach, not only teach, but teach in something you've created yourself. I have no guarantee that I'm actually going to have a career or have a job from what I'm doing right now. I'm making free videos and doing private lessons instead of working, full time round the clock for a pretty good rate. So someone like me can't see a specialist to have my back problems worked out. Bottom line, when you're a young kid, as I think I was 9 or 10, and you're going to run and jump into a pool, a regular pool, like a neighborhood pool, a big Olympic-sized pool, make sure you have looked to see if you're in the deep end or the shallow end. I had never been to this pool before, and I ended up I was actually a swimmer. That's the only sport I was good at, and the pool that I usually swam at was set up one way, and this pool that my sister and I and my friends went to this one day happened to be backwards, and without thinking about it, I went and ran and jumped. Luckily I didn't dive, or I probably wouldn't be here, or I'd probably be not be able to move my hands all around, that's for sure. But I ran and jumped into 2 feet of water, which is pretty much like running and jumping off your roof and slamming your legs and feet up into your stomach. So ended up fracturing a lower vertebrae, and that went unseen when I went to the hospital. It was later realized. Now all of us in this town realize that hospital is not the best one to go to anymore. But for whatever reason, they did not see the fracture, and just told me to take it easy. So that healed. However, it felt like healing, and now I've got severe back issues. That along with what I do for a living, I sit in a chair for many hours a day. Even my hobby, drums, I'm sitting in a chair, which doesn't even have a back to it. So I've just destroyed my back. So that explains the other set here. So, but that's the answer to my situation. Everybody's situation is different. I just wanted to talk about that because it's a long conversation to have in an email. When folks ask me about it, I figure I just talk about it. I'm an open book for the most part. So I don't mind talking about the fact that I have to take all these bad boys every day just to get around to the next one. So, but that aside, which we'll actually put these aside, something else that was brought up, and this was brought up in a private session. One of my students, or pupils, it's a more distinguished term. I'm considering the pupil is twice my age. I feel that I should be the student. But we were joking around about my tendency to have more monitors than one might need, and I thought I'd talk about that. I'm sure everybody's seen it on my videos, but here on our fisheye lens, back up a little bit, that's the array, we'll call it. And what he had brought up, he said he was curious and actually surprised that you could even do such a thing. And he said it might make a good video to talk about how I did it, or explain how you can pull that off. Windows 7 is a bit strict, and that's what I have right now on most of my computers. It doesn't let you mess around with video cards the way you could before that. Like with Windows XP, as long as you were using, or at least this is the general rule of thumb, as long as you were using a video card with the same driver, manufacturer type of deal, as long as it was two NVIDIA cards, if you had the correct ports for them, if you could find like a PCI port, and then your AGP or your PCI Express or whatever it is that you had in your computer at the time or now, whatever, you could put as many that you could fit in there. So if you got two cards that had dual monitors capability, you could have a quad system pretty quick. It was very easy, but Windows 7 does not allow that. You would have to have two identical cards, which isn't very easy to pull off in most consumer computers, which is what I use. I don't need anything seriously powerful. Although I'm technically doing video work with this stuff, I don't do massive amounts of video work anymore. So the power, I can handle that. It's a little slower and all that jazz. But anyway, what I've actually done is I found a way around that issue, and what I did, we'll switch to the camera here. If you see this guy here, this is actually a laptop dock for a Toshiba, and actually all the products involved in this are from a store called ABC Warehouse, which some cities in this country have them, some cities don't. It's pretty much like a wholesale kind of place. It's got pretty good deals on things in general, and then they've got a lot of clearance stuff. This was a clearance item. This was like a $130 item. I got it for like 30 bucks. But on the back of it, if we can see, I don't know, it's kind of hard to tell, but there's a VGA and a DVI port. So it's basically for plugging into a Toshiba laptop is what it was meant for. But it's just USB to the computer, and it allows me to have another display. So since the back of my computer, which, oh, it's dark. Let's see if I can't amend that. Maybe. My light's going out on me. No. The light's dying. But I've got a... I have to take my word for it. There you can kind of see it. But there's already 2 ports on my computer, a DVI and a VGA. Now I did say there were 2 ports on the Toshiba, but they only allow you to use one at a time. So basically that allows me to have 3 monitors. So this one and this one, which are 23 and 24 inch monitors. These are being handled by the NVIDIA card in my computer. And then the big boy here, the 42 inch TV, LCD TV, which gets a little warm. That one's being handled by this guy. Now, the other 2 monitors attached to this computer are these down here. And these were also purchased at the ABC warehouse. You can get these online, and maybe, I don't think I've ever seen these at Best Buy or anything like that. But again, since I don't have my light, it's kind of hard to tell. But what these are little LCD screens. They're 15.6 inches, I believe, just like a standard laptop screen with a wide screen. And I've got 2 of them, and they're LED, so there's a very, very low power, and they don't even get warm by any means. And it's actually cold, which is great. But what's completely great about it is they're 100% USB powered. So there isn't a power cable at all. There's just, you take the monitor and you plug it into your computer, and then boom, it works. It uses the power from your computer to display, which I actually have a 3rd one here, so we can take a look at that. So it kind of just looks, it almost looks like a, or it has a appearance of a digital picture frame. Just has that kickstand there, and boom, you've got another monitor. And right in there is the USB port, so it just takes a mini USB, and that runs to the computer. It's actually got, on the other end of it, it's got the option of 2 USB inserts, and that is if you can't draw enough power from the one, you can plug the other one in. So that is an issue. This isn't a setup you would want with a laptop, and you have to be a little savvy about the power that your computer has and that those USB ports can handle. So I've actually divvied that out. This one here is plugged into my computer. This one here is plugged into the Toshiba dock, which has an extra 6 USB ports and is self-powered. So I don't worry about a power surge with USB, which actually happens whether you knew that or not. I never knew that, and I did it one time when trying to plug this one in with the rest. So now the downside to this is that it does not allow for any other monitors to be plugged in, any USB type monitors or adapters. I mean, there's a popular adapter out there which I have. I'm going to kind of put the camera down so we hide from the mess that I continue to make in my office. If we look in my video box here, by the way, these are pretty cool containers for storing stuff. They're meant for files, obviously, but I use them for cables. So I've got audio cables there, power cables. Which, sorry, this fisheye lens on here makes it the focusing kind of tough on the camera, but it allows me to put my adapters and stuff on top, which is pretty cool. This is my video, and this is just my general computer random stuff, and I'm not positive if I put my adapter in here or not. No. So it's in the video case, which would make sense. So I keep all my video stuff in here, my extra VGA cables. I've got KVM switches, PVI video. I could have sworn I'd seen that. Maybe I had it out. Yeah, I set these. Sorry, my hands kind of it still don't have all the feeling and strength back from that injury, my sleeping injury. So, see if I found it. So this guy. This is something you can pick up at Walmart. Just a USB to VGA. And I was using these. The downside to these is they won't allow you to use or use a 1920 by 1080 monitor. It won't allow for resolution that high. And in my case, all my monitors are that way, and I prefer to keep them that way, so I don't use this. Plus, when I was using it, or when I tried to use it just to maybe throw an extra monitor on, because that's what I need, one of my smaller monitors, it did not like sharing with this guy. The drivers to run the VGA on here basically popped up with a dialog that says this does not allow any other monitors or display drivers. Whoop, there we go. So you might ask, or you might not, but how am I getting these to work? What's cool about these is all the hardware and drivers and like the software are all run on here. So there really isn't anything to install. They're like the epitome of plug and play, and that allows them to not conflict with the drivers on here. Not only that, but they also use the same software. This, I believe it's called Display Link, is the driver / software used to convert USB video. And the only downside to those is that you'll see they compress the video that comes out. Right now on these screens everything looks clear, but if you put a video on, you'll start seeing some weird stuff while it tries to figure out how to compress it correctly. So unlike, these two that are plugged straight into my real video card, they don't have that problem. And then we have this guy here who is not plugged into a computer. This is my, hello, this is kind of a monitor used for mini things. Right now I can't pick up, it's picking up this camera right here, and it's not focusing very well. There we go. So that's actually plugged in, which I showed on another video, into this kind of HDMI switcher, which just uses this little remote here with a bunch of numbers on it, and I can switch, but I don't have, the only thing else I have plugged into it is my Mac Mini, which is hiding back there. So I can turn that into my Mac Mini if I wanted to, which means I have to get it awake. So I'll wake up the Mac Mini and then try and figure out which port I have it on. Yep, it's on port 1. So in a second here, the Mac. So the Mac woke up. So this is kind of my auxiliary monitor. I use it to plug these cameras in when I'm doing a video if the cameras are stationary like that one. Gives me a chance to kind of see what's going on. I use it for the Mac Mini, which that's how often I use my Mac Mini. I barely use it, so that's why it's up there. Now this third, what would appear to be just a monitor, or not third, this other monitor here is not actually, this is an all-in-one touch PC, so that is separate. But here's the cool thing, and the reason why I woke up the Mac. Let's put this other monitor down. So I woke up the Mac to show you that I've installed this software that I wanted to introduce to everybody. I'm going to write a review on it, I think, too, and the review is more to give props to the person who wrote the software. But before his software, or I'm sure there was others, but I like his works really well. We're going to take another journey here. Before his software, we would be using, I don't drop this by using my hand, we'd be using what we would call KVM switches, which I've got a couple of them. Here's one of them. Some of them are all in one, they're all kind of one big piece. This one allows you to attach each piece separately. Basically, you plug in your computer to that one, or sorry, your monitor to that one, and then two computers to that, and you can switch between the two. And you can also plug in a keyboard and mouse, so you can control the same, or two computers with the same keyboard and mouse. Downside, or sorry, keyboard and mouse and video, or monitor. But the downside is that you have to give up a monitor or a computer. I mean, you can't access the other computer while you've switched. So what the writer of this software did was, the software, by the way, is called Synergy. And what he did, if you can see, this is gonna be tough. I can't use the screen sharing software because of well, it wouldn't work for what I'm demonstrating. But you can see my cursor, okay? We're on my main machine, and this machine is running Synergy. All of them are, but this is running as the server. And what you can do, you're watching my cursor, is seamlessly move from one computer to the next using your router, your network. So I've got two computers here, and I can go, it's kind of hard to tell, but you can see that I'm doing it. But I can go from one to the next. And not only that, but I can go from my PC over to my Mac, which, oh, I didn't turn on Synergy on my Mac, and my battery's about to die in this computer. Take my word for it. So, sorry, this camera battery died. So, point being, it's pretty cool. So you could have multiple computers set up next to each other and only need one keyboard and mouse. You're going to need a keyboard and mouse to set that all up, but then you can kind of take them away or hide them, get them out of the way. I had a couple other things I wanted to talk about, and this has turned into a long video because I like to get on tangents and talk about stuff, but if you're still with me, what I'm going to attempt to do is, I've been trying to charge the stationary camera while at the same time using it, so it's probably not going to turn out too well, so I won't have a whole lot of life on that. But I'm going to unplug it. I'm going to stop the video, start it up again, so there'll just be a little, you won't know much, except for I'll just be in a different position here in a second. But I'm going to detach this from the power cable and my monitor up there, and then we're going to finish up the video kind of mobile, since my mobile camera is dead. So I'm going to stop the video now. Okay, and we're back. Now, this may not work the way I wanted it to. I took the power cable out, and it said I had 3 minutes of battery left, which I may be able to get everything in 3 minutes, but sometimes that's not an accurate number, and we will just fizzle out. So I'm going to try and get away with doing what I wanted to do while still plugged in. One thing I wanted to show you was, I did show everybody that I repurposed this fisheye lens. It's for something else, and I kind of taped it to my camera. It works sometimes, as you guys could see when we were using it earlier, that sometimes the camera has a hard time focusing with this extra lens on it that's not supposed to be there anyways. But whatever, it's fun. But I want to put it away because, you know, I don't want to damage the lens or the camera, whatever. So I wanted to show you guys something else I repurposed. I have a kind of shelf. Almost looks like it's got a mirror on it, or not shelf, but cabinet. It looks like it'd be something that would be sitting above a sink in a bathroom. Got it at a garage sale for a couple bucks. And I was about to hang it somewhere when I realized this would actually work well as something else. So we go over here if my power cable will allow us to, and here it is. I have this case here, which I use to store my camera equipment and keep it handy. So my mini tripods, my cameras, these are some lights that I use every once in a while. In fact, that light that I was using is pretty nice. It just doesn't last a whole lot of time, but it's a little LED light that can fit on some cameras. I could put on top of here, but it's meant for video. It's not very good for it. You know, it doesn't replace a flash by any means. It's meant for video, and that can actually be attached to a tripod too. Sorry about the dog barking. That's a puppy. No amount of "please be quiet" or "shut up" will change that. So try and bear with that. But yeah, so I repurposed this case here, or I turned it into a case, that is. Everybody has probably seen my nice pillow window, which I used to write on as a marker board. Almost makes me feel like I'm in a cubicle, like the other side of the office is for somebody else. Move my coffee making stuff over there. But the thing I wanted to show you that requires me moving, I'm going to try and do this. Hopefully I can unplug this without it stopping the video. So we are detached. We've got 3 minutes. Let's move. I was getting a massage at the local beauty college, which is pretty awesome. They let you get away with a halfway decent massage for, I think it's like 20 bucks for a full body massage, maybe 10 for a head massage, neck massage, back massage, whatever. Anyway, I noticed that they had these carts sitting out with a price tag on them, and these are the carts they use for the students at the beauty college. They pretty much buy these, I'm sure, from the college, and they kind of wheel these around. It has all their stuff in it, and they can go to different stations. But it's pretty cool. It's got this lockable little thing here. Of course, it's plastic. If you really want it in, you can break into it. It slides up in here, so you have shelves, little pull-out drawers, I mean, for stuff. And this is my little tattoo cart now. So we got one of my tattoo pens. I've got some razors, all my sanitary items, ink, a lot of which I need to get rid of. It's old, and for learning purposes it's really crappy ink. It doesn't stick. But so I'm able to get my ink and store needles, tubes. This may not be familiar to some of you guys, but these are shaders and liners. My tattoo machines, they are not called guns. And some other, these are caps for putting ink in, lamp, blah, blah. The foot pedal, the power supply, and then underneath I got my favorite gloves here. I love these gloves. I use them for cleaning now too. They're nitrile and black and very big, and I have a very big hand. So I wanted to show that. I got this thing for 25 bucks. I'm sure a student probably paid at least twice that for it, if not more. It's probably an overpriced deal. But before I had a whole station set up. Took up a whole corner of my office. We're going to rush over here and plug our power in before we die. Oh, power. Sorry about the angle. Time is of the essence. We are now plugged in. Okay. So, I saw that and it instantly looked like a good home for my tattoo equipment. Which, I think I'm going to do a vlog on that at some point, tattoos. Kind of give this a little bit of insight into how they're done. If even if you've had tattoos done, you may still not know the inner workings of it, how it works and all that stuff, and I found it kind of interesting. I also like to show how you can use technology, as far as the computers anyway, to help with tattoos, which is the reason why I would bring it up. It's not really a digital craft related item of discussion, but so I'll give a quick disclaimer though for those of you who may be watching this and like to criticize. I will honestly say that I'm an artist and I do tattoos, but I'm not a tattoo artist. How's that? I don't want anybody saying, oh, you're not a tattoo artist, this, that, and the other. Anything anybody can say to criticize. I've seen other people yell that for that. In fact, I might be considered what's called a scratcher because I work on tattoos in my basement. I don't work in a shop. I didn't intern. Basically, I'm not an elite. It's kind of a community you need to, it's almost like a fraternity. You gotta kind of earn your wings, your tattoo wings, by getting beat up and, well, metaphorically, hang around tattoo shops for 8, 10, 12 hours a day cleaning up their trash, doing that. That's what an internship is usually. And then you start learning how. I don't have time for that. I'm 30 something. I might have done that when I was 18. So I just wanted to give that disclaimer that I am not a tattoo artist yet. So I'm not calling myself one. I am somebody who's curious and likes to pick up new I don't want to say hobbies, that trivializes it, but I like to pick up new things to do, and I'm enjoying learning, and I've only tattooed a couple people, and that's intentionally. I normally tattoo myself. It's not fair to people to for me to practice on them with something permanent. With me, I'm okay with it. Fun thing about tattoos, if you're already okay with them being on your skin and being permanent, then there's no harm in testing it out. I can always cover it up later as I get better. I can turn something into something else, and I do that with that in mind. Anything I do, my left leg is pretty much like a sketchbook, or sometimes a doodle pad. I actually have areas up at the very, very top where no one would see that actually have shading. I'm practicing shading, and it's just some little patches of shade that have nothing to do with anything. It really looks like a sketchbook. So there's that. So when I do this video on tattoos, if I do, I don't have control over what people say, but if I start getting a bunch of comments about me being a scratcher or not a real tattoo artist or anything like that, I don't care, really. But it's a waste of everybody else's time. All I want to do is show what it's all about. It's kind of neat. It's not as scary as everybody thinks, and I'm enjoying learning on my own time, in my own way, and all that. So, look at my list. I think we've probably gone well over any time span that anybody wants to hang out with me, looking at me this close. Let's see, tattoos, monitor setup, KVM, ADD, and we missed the first one, which is Sangria, which my wife and I enjoy a restaurant here in town. It's at a place called George's International Market. It's a big old international supermarket, and they have a restaurant in there. It's nothing fancy, almost looks more like a simple takeout Chinese place, but it's part of the restaurant, which I think is brilliant. Every single thing they use, I mean, outside of the equipment used, they can take from their store and get at probably a ridiculously low price, so they're making some really good money there. And they're probably taking produce that would be close to expiring and using it for your food, which, as someone who's cooked for a living, that's not bad. It sounds bad, but it's not bad. But anyway, when I was there today buying food, I browsed around and I found this. Some of you may be familiar with this, but it's Sangria. I don't know how to pronounce the rest of it. I won't even... no, I'm not going to try. I was going to. I don't speak Spanish and I don't understand it very well, so I'm not going to try to. I'll do it with a bad accent and screw it up. Anyway, the reason I bring this up is I remember when my brother and I and my buddies, we were really young, probably 13, 14, I don't know, walked down the street next door to the shopping plaza by our neighborhood, and there was this little store called El Rey. It's still there today. It's a little Mexican store that sells Mexican, Spanish stuff, but it had these sangrias here, and since we couldn't read anything on it, one, because we were young, and two, because we didn't speak Spanish, all we really knew was that it was, or is it, made in Mexico, which, there we go. We thought it was wine. Somehow somebody knew that sangria was a type of alcoholic beverage, or could be, and we didn't notice the non-alcoholic note at the top, and so we bought it for 89 cents, or at least no, I bought this one for 89 cents. I bet it was probably 50 cents back then, and we used to just really be excited that this little tiny Mexican store would buy us, or allow us to buy alcohol. But that was until we found out it wasn't real. But it kind of has a hint of wine to it. So I thought, it's been probably 15 or more years since I've had one of these. And, well, it's been pretty much 6 years since I've had an alcoholic beverage. So I'm curious what this tastes like, and I thought I'd share that with everybody really quick. I'm not sure if this is a twist off. Nope. So we're going to end this vlog here with a facial expression, pretty much, to determine how I feel about how this tastes and whether I still think it tastes good. Here comes some ADD for you. I did this with my bottle opener that was given to me by a smut and adult novelty shop here. Probably from somebody at a show I was playing. Anyways. Just like grape juice.